Hey everyone, I'm Valeria Popov, and I'm a creator of the Eat, Drink, and Still Shrink method that I teach in my live interactive community program, Plant-Based by Design. And we do a lot of interesting things education-wise. We do a lot of cooking Q&A, but the one of the best parts that we all love and I enjoy and adore is to bring the one of the best plant-based chefs here to cook for us and share their wisdom, their recipes, their techniques with us. And I'm very, very proud and I'm so happy that Kathy Hester actually donating her time to be here with us today right before this Halloween. And welcome, Kathy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to meet all your new people.
Thank you, Kathy. Would you please introduce yourself for people who don't know you and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm Kathy Hester, and I have two blogs, plantbasedinstantpot.com, which is all plant-based recipes, all Instant Pot recipes. Then I have healthyslowcooking.com, which is all vegan. Mostly, I've gone back in the years and made them plant-based as well. And it's not all slow cooker. It just was to begin with. So there's slow cooker and Instant Pot and air fryer and stove and oven and all kinds of things like that. I am the author of 10 traditionally published vegan cookbooks, and these are two of the plant-based community's most popular ones. So I have Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking in Your Instant Pot, which is my latest book, and the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot. I also have a Vegan Cooking in Your Air Fryer that does have all whole food plant-based options as well. So Chef AJ, I know, really likes that book a lot. And it has my special barbecue seasoning blend. So I do lots of seasoning blends and sauces and things so that you can eat whole food plant-based, but you can make it taste really good and still satisfy those flavor needs maybe your spirit has. So I also teach online cooking classes that are always have whole food plant-based options, if not naturally whole food plant-based. And you can see a lot of those classes at kathyhester.podia.com. And I have everything from like plant-based staples, oil-free sauce classes. We even made tofu in a class and tempeh in a class, so all kinds of stuff. So I choose the classes depending on what you guys want. So if you're in a class, you probably get a chance to put input in on the next one. So I do a lot of things and I'm often kind of busy, as you can tell.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today and for your time to share that with us. And what are we going to be cooking today?
Absolutely. So welcome to my kitchen, because this is it, mess and all. And for those of you who aren't in the United States, if you're not familiar with Halloween, I love Halloween. So it's like jack-o'-lanterns and funny flowers. And actually my wife just bought me this cute little Frankenstein planter. So it's the time, everybody has a holiday they love the most, and Halloween is it for me, because autumn, the leaves change, we get those beautiful fruit vegetables and butternut squashes. And so I wanted to bring a little bit of healthy Halloween, because also in the United States, I mean, I think Halloween is pretty much, let's eat candy, apples, and all the sugar our livers can process as a tradition, which is not what we want to do going forward. So I'm going to make you a whole meal that you can make this Saturday, which is Halloween. We're going to do a ghoulishly green potato soup. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm on the potato train 100%. And potato soup is one of the easiest, inexpensive, and comforting foods you can make, and it's very filling. And then we're going to make a pumpkin ice creamless shake, which sounds like I'm trying to take you down the candy lane again, right? But I'm not. We're going to sweeten it with dates, and our base, we're going to make like a fresh oat milk right along with it. So it's super easy to do. We are going to use some ground chia seeds, and we'll talk about that a little more when we get there. So I'd like to go ahead and just start cooking the potatoes. So I'm going to give you an overhead view And what we're going to do is we're going to put about 4 cups of potatoes. And these recipes you guys can get on healthyslowcooking.com. So don't worry about writing all this down. Just look up potato soup and look up pumpkin shake. So this is about 3 teaspoons of garlic. And then, so 4 cups of potato, thereabouts, what I didn't spill out is the 3 cups of water. And then I'm going to put some of my super cool secret bouillon. And you guys may not know this, but you can get this recipe on either plantbasedinstantpot.com or healthyslowcooking.com. Once I get this in here, I'll talk about it a little more because it's kind of magic, especially since many bouillons are not whole food plant-based because they have sugar, salt, and oil usually. They have all the things we're avoiding. So I'm just gonna turn my induction burner on to get it kind of heat up. All we need to do with this is we're just trying to cook the potato until it's fork tender. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this cook some, and then we're gonna come back, literally put a fork through it. If it goes through, we're like, yay, it's about dinner time. So another thing I wanted to show you guys, in case you hadn't seen this, this is my favorite cheater tool for if I'm boiling something on the stove, because you can just sit it right here. Because since I use the Instant Pot and slow cooker so much, sometimes I don't pay attention to the stove like I should, and this will keep things from boiling over. I'm not going to use it today because I'm going to be right here, and if it boils over, then I'm in big trouble for the rest of the day, right?
It's a clever thing. It's a very clever thing. And I know that you have so many gadgets. I love that. I always find something new from you. And if it's like even like a small thing, but I was like, I never like heard about it, but I like go ahead and buy it because it's just brilliant.
Right, and you can get different levels of those, but it's just so nice. Even if you're just cooking beans on top of the stove, again, that will help it not boil over, and you can still like walk away from the stove. I think that's one of the beauties of using your Instant Pot and slow cooker. And in fact, you could make this same recipe in either your Instant Pot or slow cooker. With your Instant Pot, depending on how big you cut the potato chunks, I cut them a little bit smaller in hopes that they'll cook a little bit faster. So with, and actually show you this. So this is about how big my chunks are. They're fairly, they're not small or diced, but they are a small chunk, smallish chunk, maybe medium. So with that, I might only cook about 6 minutes on high pressure. If you're on the Instant Pot, whenever you're doing anything that has more liquid than solid, you're going to want to let it sit for about 10 minutes after cooking and then release the pressure. It just is going to make it not spew, because when it's just liquid, it can just come out, and that's when people get more nervous about that. You could also put all this that we just put in here, are what, 4 ingredients, into your slow cooker. And then you could just let it cook for probably 6 to 9 hours. It'll hold a long time, but you could cook it, it'll probably be ready around 5 or 6 hours on low. You just check it with a fork. And then the rest of the ingredients we're going to put in a blender in a few minutes. So do you guys have any questions about that?
Do you have an Amazon shop?
I do, and I can send you the link for that. I do have an it's an Amazon influencer page, and I'd be glad to drop that back over. And I can even, what I can do is all the things we talk about, I can put in a special board, so people don't have to wade through things. And I do that actually when I teach my classes. So like when we did a tofu class and a tempeh class, you need some stuff that you're not usually looking for. So I make them on those little kind of boards. So even if someone doesn't want to shop on Amazon, though this year we're all kind of shopping on Amazon a little extra, I think, due to the pandemic, you could still take that and see the pictures and the brands and go to a specialty store and get them. Thank you for asking.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I think it's always helpful because, like, for example, the thing that you just showed, like, where do I find it? Like, I want that.
Right. And yeah, and I will promise you, and it may be this evening before I get to make the board because I have an interview after this, but I would love to do that. And I'll put in some other maybe little Halloween treaty sort of things if I can find something good.
Thank you.
And the bouillon, in fact, this bouillon recipe can be your Halloween treat from me. So what you can, again, you can get the recipe at plantbasedinstantpot.com or healthyslowcooking.com. You just go to the little magnifying glass and put in bouillon, and it'll pull it up immediately. So you're taking an onion. Now we're making bouillon, not broth. So that means you're not going to use the peel. You're going to take the peel and the ends off, just as if you were eating it, because you're gonna. And we're going to cut it and just kind of, usually I cut it in about 8 pieces. So if it's a whole onion, I'll go poop, 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 just like that. Separate those pieces on the bottom of a slow cooker or a Dutch oven. And if you're using the stovetop method or the Instant Pot method, you will add a little bit of water. In the Instant Pot, for pressure cooking, you always have to add water to get it to come up to pressure. But I'm going to assume you're using a slow cooker right now. So you don't even add any water. You put that there, you chop up some carrots, chop up some celery, maybe put some thyme, either dried thyme or fresh thyme if you have it. Cook it, and the veggies are going to release some liquid. If you use fresh thyme, you'll take the thyme stems out once it's done, puree it with some nutritional yeast, and then you can freeze it in ice cube trays. So you can make a big batch of it and use it for several months, but then you can put one in your beans because we don't have any salt in there, right? So there's no salt, no sugar, no oil. It's perfect for like infusing flavors in anything, a soup, a stew, anything that you feel like, it's not quite there, throw a cube in, and it costs probably $2, maybe. If you've got all the super fancy expensive ingredients, maybe $3 for enough bouillon that if you got little jars of it, it would cost $30 or $40. So it's easy to make, hands off, and it's a game changer. Most of my people make this bouillon and keep it in their freezer. So after you have it in the ice cube trays, and normal ice cube trays are 2 tablespoons, and you'll use kind of twice as much of this. So 2 tablespoons would be probably the equivalent of 1 teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon, which I know you're not using now, because there's so much salt and other things in there. You can't up it until the flavor's right. You have to up it until it's too salty. This you can add as much as you like. So yeah, that's also kind of
very
cool.
Clever, very, very clever.
Yeah, I realized with my first book, if I actually bought all the bouillon, I would use up like my advance on bouillon. That made me very sad. Okay. While these potatoes are cooking, and I'm going to turn it down just a little bit, I am going to go ahead and make this shake. And in fact, I need to get a glass. That's the one thing I didn't bring over. But I have some cool, creepy Halloween mugs too.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do is first we're going to I call it making the milk. And you could use anything, and you could use regular milk already, but we're going to use about a 1/4 cup of rolled oats. And you want to use rolled oats because they're going to just puree very quickly. You could make a similar milk using steel cut or oat groats, but it would need to soak and you would need to strain it. We're not going to strain this at all, which is kind of beautiful. For right now, I'm going to put 2 cups of water in. We may go a little higher. I'm going to go ahead, and I've just got some dates that I've soaked. Let me move the oats out of the way. Okay. So, and these have pits in them. So, wow, these are so,
Yeah, and I feel like people who are watching or are going to be watching, because we're recording it, it's the beautiful recipe for kids. My kids love almond milk and not the almond, sorry, the oat milk. And we used to buy it from the Oatly. And when I realized how easy and cheap it is to make, and without all this extra ingredients that you don't want, and it's just so much more, it's just so much better.
Yes, and I'm putting about 4 in here because these dates have just been a little bit odd for me. So they've not been quite as sweet as some. So don't feel, if you're usually like, if I make a smoothie or something, you put 1 date in it, start with 1 date, okay? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna blend all this up together. The potatoes are just boiling away. I think you can see, you might be able to see some of the steam.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is going to be a little loud, so I apologize.
Zoom actually mutes the sound of it, so I don't think that Kathy can hear us.
The dates that I have are so hard.
I was just saying that Zoom actually mutes the loud noises.
Oh, good, good. When I'm just doing a live on Facebook, it doesn't always, so that's nice. Yeah. So I'm going to just scrape this down a little bit, and I can let you see here that we're kind of getting to this. So you're just, again, there's still a few little pieces of date, but we're going to be blending this more. So I'm going to put in some pumpkin puree. And if you're from a country that doesn't have pumpkin, if you have any kind of squash, like a butternut squash, anything like that would work. Any winter squash, really. And I'm going to put just a little bit extra because I really like pumpkin in mine. And then I want you to see this. So this is ground chia seed, but it's not, you don't just buy it in the store ground. You can, but that's not, this is ground even more in a spice grinder or a coffee grinder. So I know most of you probably aren't drinking coffee anymore, but you might still have a coffee grinder laying around in your house. So, or your significant other still drinks coffee. Take some rice. You can use brown rice. You could use white rice if you have some, because I know you're not going to be eating it. If you just have some in the somewhere along, the white rice, because it doesn't have the outside, will absorb more of the flavor. For what we want to do here and getting the coffee flavor out, that's a good thing. In the rest of the world, not so much, right? So you're going to grind some white rice, then you can grind your chia seeds, and you can get them at a finer grind. Another thing you can use that most people tend not to want to do is xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is what Starbucks uses to make its frappuccinos, and this is kind of what this is based on. So we're going to do about a tablespoon of this ground chia seed. Because what happens if you left it out together, you could also use pectin. Pectin also works and pulls it together. Is that you'll just end up, the ice and the liquid will separate and it won't pull together and look like a shake. That's the only thing. I'm going to put some allspice, cardamom, and cinnamon in there. So I'm going to put about, I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and, usually I do between 1/4 and 1/2 of allspice. We are going, gosh, date pits are sticking to everything, you guys. I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of cardamom in here. And I love cardamom. If you don't have some of these spices, you could totally just put cinnamon in there. You could put, I don't know if other countries, and maybe you can help me with that, have pumpkin pie or apple pie spice, because I'm thinking probably not. That doesn't seem right. It doesn't say American as apple pie for nothing. And we're going to put about a teaspoon of cinnamon. And
Yeah, I
all
know, but I think that they don't have like a spice that is probably brought up together, but they can find the spices that goes in there, right?
right, because they're very common. In fact, all of these everything except allspice is Indian food too. So, and I know, thank goodness, we can all have access to Indian food because that's my favorite. And I'll let you see that what this kind of looks like in there, right? So we're going to blend it a little bit more. And if you're using xanthan gum, if you just happen to have some, you're just going to use about 1/8 of a teaspoon, like a tiny, tiny amount.
Yeah, with all those spices, I can't smell it, but I can smell it because she was talking about all those spices and I can smell it, and it smells like Halloween, and it smells like fall, and it smells like leaves and a comfort and all of that beautiful things. I love spices. I love fall.
Okay. Lots of blending, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing I'm going to do before I put the ice in too, two things. First, I'm a big believer on smelling your food to decide if it's seasoned properly. So I'm going to smell this. And I can smell all the spices. I'm looking to see if I smell the cinnamon where I want it to and the cardamom. Nothing's overpowering. It all blends together in a way that's pleasing to me. So if it's not pleasing to you using the same amounts I did, maybe you might go, oh, you know, I want some more cardamom in there, or I want some more something else. Okay, because this is your shake. And then we're going to taste it too, just to make sure. So it should taste a little stronger because once we add a bunch of ice, that's going to dilute the flavors, right? So it's almost like it should be slightly a concentrate. So maybe slightly too sweet and slightly too much spices in there.
If you want to store this recipe in the fridge, would you put ice? Would you not put ice right away and just store the mixture and then put ice?
Yes, you could totally make it up to this point. So let's say for Halloween, you wanted to do this in the afternoon and then put the ice in. You just might have to blend it again. And you may have to, depending on how much chia seed, you might have to add a little more water because it's going to get a little thicker. But yeah, you can totally do that. You could even, I don't know why you would do this, but if you wanted to make enough for a period of time, you could freeze it in little mason jars too, as long as they're freezer safe. Going to my fridge door where my crushed ice lives. So you're going to hear this noise too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool with the chia seed that, you know, you can drink it right away, or then you can actually make even more of it if you want to drink it later.
Yeah, you could totally do that. So I'm going to show you kind of how I gauge this. I like mine to be really thick. So what I'm going to do is I get some ice and then I shake it. And then if there's too much liquid, like I'm probably going to put just a little more ice. You could also go ahead. Let's see. You could also go ahead and do that first blend, and if it's not thick enough, but that is exactly how I tell. Okay, so now what you're going to be looking for here is, you guys can kind of see a little bit, maybe the ice, you're going to see it come together a little bit more. Oh, and we're going to start off slowly to break those, even though it's crushed ice, to break it up in smaller pieces so that it's going to be a better texture.
Guys, I'm so excited for this shake. It's amazing. It's going to be so amazing. I can smell it. I can smell it from my computer. I wonder how thick it gets actually with ice and chia. I haven't tried it with chia. I've been just talking because you can hear us, you cannot hear us, but you're blending. And because this mutes, I was just talking about, like, I wonder like how thick it gets, because I've never used grounded chia and I really want to try it. I'm going to try it tomorrow.
Oh, and it's good in just using milks too. This is not thick enough for me. So I'm going for the ice again.
I bet you can even like probably do it with like eat it with a spoon if you make it thick enough.
Oh, you can. You can. I mean, also another thing is you could do this. Well, you could do it before you put the ice in, and you could put it in an ice cream maker. You can totally do that too. And again, I mean, we're only using wholesome ingredients in this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can make like an ice cream too. That's just perfect for Halloween. It's pumpkin and all the spices and very healthy oat milk.
Let's see what we're looking at here. I may go a little thicker, but you see that's pretty thick there. But I'm going to see if we can get it like a little bit thicker. And just so you know, I like mine so thick you could eat it with a spoon, and sometimes I go a little bit too far. So we'll see if I do that today.
Do you think if you add more chia that it will get thicker? But then, like, it's a trick with chia. If you want to eat it right away, you don't want to put too much.
Right.
Oh, wait, too little. You don't want to put too little. You want to put a
Right.
little more. But then if you want to store it and like make it thicker, you put a little bit more or a little bit less. Let's
And
see.
you kind of just, yeah, you just play with it a little bit. So like while there's a recipe for this, I make a whole bunch of different kinds of these. So the original one from the Halloween cookbook also has some pecans in it. Because you can make pecan milk, you could use rice milk, you could use any kind of milk that you want, but you don't need the nuts in here at all. That's that. Okay.
Yeah, I can tell. I can definitely tell it. It's much thicker. It's not splashing all over. Yeah, it's so cool.
So the other trick is blending it long enough that you don't have ice crystals, but not so long that it starts melting if you're using a Vitamix or a Blendtec or a high-speed blender. So keep watch on what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's a good one. Because when it starts melting, it's just gonna separate, I think.
I'm going to be using the other blender in just a second. See,
Yeah.
that's more like a shake. And oh, that's great. And so you can, let me let you see just how thick it is too. So I'll pour it out here. See that?
Very thick.
Yeah, and it's, let you see from up top too. So see how it even holds. It holds that. So there's a lot of thickness and sweetness. And again, you can cater this to whatever. And I don't know if you guys, and you can tell me, if there anything else you would recommend to use besides dates?
I mean, I think dates are the best, the medjool dates, because they're the sweetest sometimes. What I find for my kids that they like the specific, I would say the raisins too. I think raisins can be even sweeter and you can use less, but I think dates are great too.
Where did I put my other? Oh, I left it in here. No, I didn't.
Oh, I think it's right next to your Instapot. Are you looking for a blender?
Yes, thank you.
I can see it from here.
I hid it from myself, you guys. Okay. And I'm also hidden something else from me. My goodness.
I love all your spiders everywhere and your.
No, there's all kinds of creepy good things. Oh, I put it in. Okay. This is kale, but you could use spinach, Swiss chard, collards, any green. And I'll let you see the soup. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be fork tender by now. So I'm going to take a potato, and when I put my fork into it, it kind of splits a little bit, but it goes in easily. So that's how you're gonna know. So it's really quick. I could have, if I was watching it on the stove and just doing normal person stuff instead of making something else, we could have made this even faster. So I'm gonna take some of the liquid, about a half a cup of the broth. We're gonna puree some stuff in the blender, but we're not gonna puree the potatoes. Every once in a while, I will puree a potato as part of a soup. Like maybe I made this with one potato and a head of broccoli, and I'll use that actual potato to make it creamy and look like a cream soup. But if you're doing just potatoes, you really don't want to mess with that lovely texture potato soup can have. And what we're going to do for the potatoes is we're going to take out a potato masher. And this is my favorite potato masher because like this thing is serious. I don't remember where I got it, but it's like, whoa. And I like a little bit of chunkiness in my potato soup. Not too much, but I'm not looking for it to be as perfectly pureed as maybe I would a cream of broccoli. But even that, I will save out some florets to chop up and put in as well. So maybe a butternut squash soup is maybe one way to think about a nice pureed soup. And see, it looks like mashed potatoes, right?
Yeah, looks delicious.
Yummy mashed potatoes.
I haven't had my breakfast yet, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good.
Well, and it's such a fun thing to make. And I don't know if where you're from, if potato soup is a staple. It is in the United States, and I think it came about during the Depression because people ate canned potatoes even in the Depression because it was so hard to get food, right? Okay, so we've got our potato stuff ready, and I'm just going to sit the pan on a trivet and push this guy out of the way. Okay, so we don't really need much in here. We're gonna put some nutritional yeast. There's a little nutritional yeast in the bouillon, but I'm gonna put about a quarter cup. Actually, I need to fill this guy back up. That was about a quarter cup. Then you can also put some pepper in here. And you could also do pepper and to taste afterwards. You can use your favorite salt substitute, or in a pinch, what I will do is I will mix like a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and like a quarter to a half a teaspoon of ground celery seed. And that works as a really good neutral salt substitute. So that's something else to think about. I'm going to put a little liquid smoke. And this is Living Nutritionals, and there's nothing added to this one. So I was kind of disappointed. My favorite liquid smoke did have caramel color. This does not, and you can get this on Amazon. So where I'm from, they do loaded potato soup, right? So they put bacon bits and cheese and green onions. This is just going to give you that smokiness the bacon would. The nutritional yeast is going to give you that cheesiness that the cheese would, and you still can put green onions on it if you want to. So I'm going to put probably about a quarter to a half a teaspoon. If you're not sure how much you like liquid smoke, start with a couple of drops, blend it, taste it. Because some people feel that it gets overpowering very quickly. I'm from the southern United States, so they cook, I grew up with lots of smoky, porky things. And I've been able to get a lot of people to leave those behind for liquid smoke. And there's no salt in it or anything. And the way they make liquid smoke is literally at the liquid smoke plant, they're burning wood and they're catching the condensation. So it is a natural product. Okay, so I'm just going to blend this down.
Yeah, it's very interesting. From where I'm from, from Moldova, used to be a part of Soviet Union, potatoes were like, still is a big part of the cuisine. A lot of potatoes used, but of course there's a lot of butter and sour cream and stuff like that. So, but I love potatoes. I love potatoes sulfur free without any additives.
You see how
Kathy, is your greens are fresh or were they cooked?
they were absolutely fresh. So what I do a lot with my soups and stews is, and this is the great way, like, so if you're the whole food plant-based person in your family and the rest are kind of like, kale, you know, because even if, you know, at some point people have to come in. So for Cheryl, and Cheryl is my age. Everybody, when I talk about my picky eater, thinks she's a little girl, but no, she's a grown-up person. And I would just mince like kale until it looked like parsley and put like a quarter cup on top of everything. You sprinkle it around, and it wasn't kale or scary. And now she eats greens all the time. But this, so what I do, with any soup or stew, I chop up fresh, uncooked, and once it hits the heat, it cooks enough because it's so small. Like this is pureed. This is going to be, and it had the warm soup stock in here. So it's not so hot it'll burn me, but it's warm. As soon as it gets mixed together, it'll be great.
Yeah, and plus I think the Vitamix also, if you run it for long enough, it just cooks it too, a little bit.
It's true. And because my dog hates it, if it goes on too long, we almost never do that. But have you tried those hot blenders? Like Instant Pot has one. Go Wise is the one that I have, and Cuisinart has a soup maker. Those are really, really cool. And that's how I make my tomato soup, and we can talk about that too. Because I cook the potatoes without really paying that much attention to lowering it once it boiled, I may end up wanting to add some more water. And that could be the same thing with you, or you may like yours thinner than I like mine. Because even though I'm making recipes, my goal is to give you the general ideas and techniques and then have you make it the way you like it. That's what's really important to me. And so see how just moving it in, isn't that cool? Now we've got this like ghoulishly green potato soup. And in addition to not just letting your little ones go out and eat all the candy they can hold, even if it was a normal Halloween and there was going to be some of that, at least they got some nutrition in before they go out door to door. And this is a recipe you're not going to be like, oh, well, I wish I could eat that, but I can't. And you totally can. And at this point, you would just taste it and add salt or the salt substitute that you're using, and see how there's some little chunks. If you don't like that, you could use an immersion blender, or you could have put it, maybe mashed it a little bit more, but I like it like that. And I think that's pretty much a good texture for me. So we're also going to talk a little bit about decorating this. So let me get some soup in a cauldron. And there's lots of different ways you can decorate it, but this is my favorite way. And also it gets some fresh red bell pepper or some nice vitamin C in there too. So here's what we're going to do. I have some cut up because I did the same recipe. So you want to get a bell pepper, you know, that has those 4 humps. And so I've just cut off a hump. And I'm going to sit that there in the middle. Okay. And then I cut up some bell pepper in strips. And these are going to be my little monster octopus arms. The other bowl I used was a little bit smaller than this one. Let's see.
So we probably want to use like more of like a shallower dish.
Yeah, that works pretty well. Yeah, just, or you can cut a bigger hump. And then I've got two little possibilities for you. So this is just a little slice of parsnip and a black sesame seed. You could use a poppy seed as well, though it doesn't show. Oh, poppy seeds are harder. I'm working with it right here, trying to get to stay on. Or see, you could do a poppy seed. So there's nothing in here that's not whole food plant-based. I mean, the whole sesame seed could be kind of, yeah, you know, that's a little, but if you have a black sesame seed in the house, you don't even have to eat that. You could just let the kids eat that one. But it looks super spooky and it's really easy. And so yesterday, because I had made the soup for Idaho potato demonstration, I gave it to Cheryl this way, and Cheryl, who doesn't usually eat bell pepper, ate all the bell pepper in it. So if she'll eat it, your kids will eat it, is all I have to say.
Yes, absolutely. And I know, like, you know, you can decorate it, like you can go on Pinterest or like Google it, like you can decorate it as you want, but the get this green goodness, like this is the one, like this is the main thing that your kids are gonna eat it during the Halloween. And if you're gonna eat it today, they're probably gonna eat it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Exactly, because you can even just be like, ooh, let's go watch you know, a movie that's a little spooky, and you can make this for dinner any time of the year and get some extra greens in them. Another thing you could do is just and you could use white carrots, radishes, parsnips, anything that's kind of light colored, and put those little discs. So you could do two eyes on the soup, kind of cockeyed, with whatever you've got your black dot as, and then just put a little slice of red pepper or carrot as a mouth. And it can be, you don't even have to get this involved if you don't want to.
Yeah, it's a time for creating, and you can involve your kids to like decorate their own plates too, you know?
Absolutely. So you could have, like, you might want to have one decorated, or and if you go to Healthy Slow Cooking and find this recipe, you'll see it this way. And also I have some bat cutouts, and I use pumpernickel bread for that, but you could do something else dark. Like you could do, trying to think, actually you could even do like, we could do like a pumpkin colored oatmeal, and you could bake it in a thin sheet to make kind of a cracker. And then before it's baked all the way, you could cut out little ghost shapes. That's something else you could do. So I mean, the sky's the limit with how you want to decorate it, really. But this one is super easy.
Yeah, limitless possibilities, so easy. You know, I wanted almost like I love all your cameras too. I want to touch on that too, like, because I know that if there is people in audience, and I'm going to be sending it to my email list too, if you do want to know about all these cameras, because I'm like always like fascinated by your technology too, like not only the gadgets in the kitchen, but also like how you can operate with the cameras. And I know I might have chefs here, or you know, people who do cooking and do photography, and how people can find that piece of that too. Like I know that you actually, I think you give classes too, right?
I do. I have, for people beginning, I have jump into live video using your phone. And so that's great. It teaches all the things like eye contact and kind of how to communicate through the camera instead of just talking at it, right? And getting a little more comfortable, from how to go live in Facebook and Pinterest. And so that's a course you take on your own time. I'm going to, either next month or January, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm going to be running my other Shy, and I do live video for the Shy and Reluctant. So if you need, you want to learn all the stuff you've learned in the other one, but you'd like to have 4 group meetings with people, and we really work through whatever the barriers are about not going live. Like you wouldn't, you know, either it's too expensive, or I can't learn the technology, or I'm too old, I'm too young, my hair is fuzzy, I don't want to wear makeup, my kitchen isn't clean. Like I've heard everything. And the thing is all those things, kind of like eating, right? Like we also hear all those things when people are starting to go whole food plant-based, right? You go struggle through it, and then you're on the other side and you're like, well, that was silly. Why did I ever say that? Especially when you hear someone else say it. But I felt the same way. I didn't just come out of the womb camera ready at all. In fact, I really hated it for a long time, and I went through a whole process of learning how to do it. And so the best advice I can give you is go live today, even if you don't want to, and that will help you get better. And I'm working, and hopefully we'll be done with this before the end of next month. I'm working on a course on teaching other people how to do cooking classes, because cooking classes can be a really nice revenue stream for people in our community. A lot of people used to do in-person classes, and that's just not possible right now. So I'm working, because I use, there's all different kinds of levels of things you can do. You can go live and teach a cooking class with your phone. So
that is so true. That is
yeah,
so
and take
true.
payments on PayPal and do it in a Facebook group. Or for me, I have multiple cameras and lights, and I use a program called Ecamm, and I store my classes on Podia, which is, you heard earlier, where you can buy my classes. So you can look at Jump Into Live Video and Live Video for the Shy and Reluctant. And what I'll do too is I will give you a coupon code to put up with this,
Cool.
so that they can get a discount. And I also do one-on-one consultations. I tend to do those more on live video. If somebody wanted to do it on food, we could do that too, but it makes more sense with live video. So I could help you with your setup that you have right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like a lot of people, even if they're not chefs, but they are being like cooking for a very long time, and now they want to share. And I think like you are such a great person for those people to contact you and finally start doing something, and like educating other people, and sometimes just for fun, to have your audience and to find like people who will, be interested in what you do too. And well, Kathy, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really enjoy your cooking, and let us, please, would you tell again, like where people can find you?
Absolutely. So my blogs are plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. I also have a free Facebook group, and there are vegans and plant-based and SOS and sofas and people who are doing Meatless Monday in there. So just know you will see a variety of things, but everyone supports you where you are. So doing whole food plant-based, you'll find a lot of great company and a lot of just really neat support. People help each other and answer questions. That would be Vegan Recipes Cooking with Kathy Hester. And just say you saw me on the show today, and you don't have to answer the rest of the questions to get in.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, for your recipes. We really enjoyed it, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.